Good morning. Welcome to the January 21st, 2026 meeting of the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. I think we have a quorum, and I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director Berlin to describe the logistics of today's meeting.
Thank you, Chair James. This meeting is being held pursuant to notice in accordance with the provisions of Section 94 of the Executive Law and the state's open meeting law. Article 7 of the Public Office Law. The meeting room we're using here at the New York State Conference Center in Manhattan at 25 Cleaver Street, and the conference room at the Commission's offices in Albany at 540 Broadway are open to the public during public session, as is the location at 3637 Hester Avenue, Smyrna, Georgia, from which Commissioner Edwards is participating in the meeting. Those are open again during public session to the public. In addition, public session is being live streamed. The link can be found on our website at ncny.gov. I should note that Vice Chair Ayers is participating in the meeting remotely pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 103-A, and Commission's rules and resolution for remote participation on account of extraordinary circumstances. And Commissioner Austin will be joining us shortly, subject to the same provision, Public Officers Law. And I can state that as between the Albany offices, the New York Conference Center, and Commissioner Edwards' location, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the public session of December 17, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
There was at least one that was provided by Vice Chair Ayers on page 7 of the public session minutes under the heading Proposed Advisory Opinion 25-XX. There's a clause that reads the motion was unanimous, and that clause should instead read the motion carried unanimously.
Oh my God.
With that correction, is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected? Commissioner Ayers, second by Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Karras, second by Commissioner Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the operations update, which is an attachment B. Director Berlin.
Thank you, Chair James. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to go through the operations report in detail. It is in the agenda book, again, under tab B. I have a few updates, but if commissioners have any questions about any of the data presented in the operations report, staff is available to respond now or outside. Anything?
Are there any questions?
I just have one quick question.
Yes, Commissioner.
On page 5, training, where it says number of employees who completed on-demand SLMS training, the column 2025 year-to-date January to December. What does MPA mean? 1250, 570.
Yeah, the MP4, that's the video that we introduced in 2025 that makes the on-demand module available to anyone who has access to the internet.
Okay.
So from our site, but that's the new MP4.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? I do have a couple of updates on page 4. Financial disclosure, the number of filings outstanding. That number has, since the report has been issued, been reduced from 968 to 547. Some other incidental reductions, for example, the number of delinquencies, and we'll update those the next committee. That's a significant change. That reflects downside to those late filers. Also updates on training. At the time the report went out, we had reached the deadline for reporting the December figure for agencies submitting their outstanding. The combined total of live and on demand for December has gone up to 26,396 from 14,545. That largely reflects an update of the number of live TETC agency trainings conducted. The number of trainings has gone up, as has the number of employees trained, from 1,171 to 13,137. There's still a number of agencies that have not reported, and we expect those numbers will increase as we move forward. So the total year 2025 statistic is now at 265,998. That's up from the 254,147. So we're closing in on that 300,000 number. And the total from inception has increased now to 612,730. Very, very close to what we were looking for, especially when take into account the fact that MTA was not on board. It's not management employees until 2025. And I should mention that we will be allowing those who should have completed their trainings in 2025 and didn't do so, grace period into January, complete those trainings. They'll have to take another training. Their 2026 training will have to be conducted, taken as well, but they will have the opportunity to correct. And with that, do want to say the audit and review team, notwithstanding being shorthanded for a good part of the year, did exceed the target. Total random and directed reviews and random lobby filing audits. Is there any questions? There'll be further updates. We will.
All right, let's move to the budget update.
You have the current fiscal year update under tab C. We remain on target, remaining within the budget allocation we have for the year. $950,000. We will see that there is more than projected cash surplus as a result. There is an appropriation surplus of $12,000. That reflects the delta of roughly 4% between the appropriation that were allocated by the legislature in the budget and the cash that's actually available to us to spend in a fiscal year. We're moving forward on that. The next part of the update, was there any questions? We pretty much stripped everything to the bone in terms of our spending. For 2026, 2027, as you know, we requested by the divisional budget to submit a flat budget.
Memo, you wanted this now or?
Well, the budget documents, yeah, it's fine. We'll set this. The top memo is executive session. Yeah, everybody should have two budget documents.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a lot of stuff.
Commissioner as Vice Chair, as I believe they were emailed last night.
Yeah, everybody should have. If they were emailed,
Yeah, I got them. Thank you.
should have a copy. Well, it's the whole deal. As I said, as you know, we were asked by the Division of Budget to submit a flat budget. We did that. We did submit a side letter asking $750,000 over and above the main appropriations used for technology upgrades and replacements, particularly of their financial disclosure and lobbying systems. Spent a fair amount of time working with the budget people, explaining our budget and our needs. Ultimately, this was yesterday, when the budget that was released, the executive budget proposal released by the governor's office and by the division of budget, we received $250,000 less than. The theory is that that reflects the deduction of $250,000 we received last year to pay an old Jacob liability. But we haven't been told that. Budget was aware of that fact. We have a very tight budget. We have stripped down on personal services, literally any conceivable thing we could take out in order to be good campers and to comply with the budget request, but still make it work. We've preserved our full head count in our personal services past 68 head count that we're targeting. We did have some further discussions with budget because we do have a number of requests for approval, rate changes, and some salary increases, some promotions pending with budget. We had discussions with them prior to the release of the budget concerning whether over the, not just the coming fiscal year, current year, and the succeeding fiscal year, whether we could maintain that. And the answer was we could with normal attrition, in and out, always having periods of time when we just really couldn't see, which is normal. We're now at a size, not a big agency, but we're at a size. We expect that. So we're quite surprised to get this budget. If we can't move it, it will be a real problem because it means not only that current positions that are on hold within the agency session will be problematic, but could affect filling other vacancies in the agency as well, impact our headcount. We are already in the process. Emily has been reaching out, Emily DeSantis, chief of staff, many things in the agency. Already been reaching out to key members of the Assembly and the Senate committee chairs to meet with them. We'll be reaching out to the chamber. It's kind of a repeat of last year. And but for the session having to work this through. You have in front of you the appropriation document proposed budget that you'll see. Technically, they gave us our full pass, but they cut for non-personal services allocation by $418,500. Money's going to have to move between accounts. We can't pay our $418,000. And we have already put on hold plans for expanding the physical plant in Albany, figured out ways to accommodate staff without doing that. The process of looking at renegotiating leases in Albany that is flat, maybe reduce that, but that's off the field. So the other things we can be doing deal with this. Other thing.
Can I ask you a question? So the FTEs are flat. Did they authorize filling the positions that are on hold?
The budget document actually contemplates our full headcount of 68. Explicit in the document that we're expected to maintain a workforce of 68 full-time. And that's been the case since our expanded staffing plan a couple of years ago. As a result of doing a lot of work with the legislature to get us,
Right.
and the governor's office to get us to that.
But I remember there was a point where they weren't permitting us to fill some current vacancies because of concerns about future deficits.
Correct. We have filled a couple of vacancies under the 64 threshold.
Right.
But above 64, so we have 4 positions that have been on hold pending the outcome of the budget. It's not over yet. Still have hearings coming on the legislature. Still has to reflect this, come up with their, in each chamber likely will have their own versions of the budget. So, was understood and ultimately made explicit that we would be on hold until those four positions until we knew what the budget was, because budget, not unreasonably, is anticipating the state will be in this hold for at least assurance before filling positions currently that our agency and every agency would be able to maintain the workforce, not only in the coming fiscal year, but in the following fiscal year. We had spent time with them demonstrating that we do that. That's why we stripped down to the extent we have our non-personal services budget. The other thing, and we talked about it in a couple of commission meetings, we acting on a proposal from one of the Senate chairs, we had been talking about and discussing with budget new sources of revenue, not just for the state, but for the agency. And those included, this is a long-standing ask we've had, late fees for late completion of ethics training by law enforcement. We're talking about raising lobbying registration fees and changing the registration period. Currently, lobbyists, as you know, pay $200 at the beginning of the biennial period. That covers them for 2 years. If the registration comes in the second year of the biennial, the fee has been $100. Budget asked us to prepare proposed legislation, and we did. We spent a lot of time putting together legislation, changing the registration, not the cycle, but the registration fee payment process to an annual process, raising the fee from $250 annually every year. As well as changing the training cycle to a 2-year cycle instead of a 3-year cycle, current legislation that will correspond to biennial, imposing late fees for late compliance. We also talked about, you can do this by regulation, raising late fees we charge for late registration filings and late registration amendments. Something we can do sua sponte. All of that money currently that we raise goes into the general fund. We retain none of it. Do a lot of work to collect for the state, but none of it comes into the agency. That's we in consultation with budget had a provision legislation, those legislation that we prepared the amendments that would have allowed the agency to retain a portion of those additional funds to be applied to technology. A specific earmark. Their proposal contains all of the language except that final paragraph that would have provided funds to the agency. So that's something we need to talk about. And a source of much disappointment. This is something we're taking with the chamber, with DOB. It's a good deal, those provisions, the rest of deal of revenue. The other proposal on circulated to commissioners, that's in the Article 7 legislation, is something of a revamping by amendment of the Public Offices Law Section 73-A, financial disclosure form, taking out some of the archaic verbiage that's been carried for question 8 in particular. Legacy stuff. Changing a couple of the thresholds. We have been advocating for changes. Our proposals ultimately would have discussed this somewhat. Would have given the commission and drafting for the financial disclosure. This proposed legislation sort of proposes it. And we have to just came out yesterday. We have to spend some time on this again. Some other things that are associated with it in the proposed legislation. It's less from that. Questions?
All right, let's go to the next item.
Sorry, for Diems, I won't read them, posted, they're in the record. I will say they cover, December 17th, meeting and prep time. November, some commissioners. They also will reflect some adjustments that DSC, controller's office has made to some of the per diems. He mistakenly made those changes and commissioners who were affected by it. So in the next set of per diem amendments, those readjustments, if you will.
So these are the adjusted totals?
Those are the totals that were adjusted improperly by BSC.
Okay.
So in the next cycle, we're going to adjust them back, and BSC will coordinate with us now before they so respond to make adjustments without checking with the agency. They assumed that there were double entries or mistakes, and they weren't. And then they went back and reversed them after they made mistakes. So that created an issue. The year-to-date total is $149,305. That'll come down a little bit. And we're running significantly lower than last year.
Next item is the third report of ethics training compliance report.
That is under attachment of 10.
Get the training unit been doing a great job.
The training unit has been doing a great job. They are training thousands and thousands of state workers directly and have figures to the operations. Very closely with all of the agencies, coordinating training and making materials available and answering questions, and collecting data. As you can see, we're on our way to having a system. And you can see it in the operations report, particularly since the summer. It's clear that the overall system, which includes the on-demand trainings that we provide, now that's so that literally any state worker can access on-demand training.
We can no longer see you in New York City. We could kind of hear you. Oh, you're coming back on now. Your audio has been kind of going in and out and has been very muffled. And you're very blurry right now that you're back.
Feel that way. It's cold out.
So we'll,
Back in, Emily?
I don't see it.
I'm sorry.
Log out and back in.
Which, are you on? Are you on the Wi-Fi?
We're back.
We are hardwired.
You're hardwired. Okay.
Need that technology.
If it goes out again, we'll have you log back in.
Libby, did that help any?
We're back. We're back on the
No.
live stream.
Is it worse? We can see it, but it's still blurred.
Yeah, you're still blurry. We can proceed if you go out again and we can't see you. Oh, you're out again. And now we can't hear you either. Okay, I think they are logging back in. No,
are we back?
you're back.
Martha, she says we're back.
Does it look good?
I was just-
No, it does not look good.
Violating the electrical.
Martha's going to check something.
Okay.
And thank you for letting us know, because if you can't hear us clearly, then those who are watching on the live stream can't either.
Correct.
So if we fail to project, please speak up.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so can we continue? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can see you.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Let's
We'll
continue.
let you know if you go out again.
Right. The report in the book, of course, is the second and third calendar quarters, and through the end of the third quarter. It's been progress through May. Subsequent to that, the pace has actually increased. That is last quarter, calendar quarter, 2025. And as I was saying, what it demonstrates is that this overall system, which involves live trainings online, conducted by our agency, the on-demand trainings we provide, the MP4, the SLMS, accessible training, and in due course, some additional HTML versions that we've contracted to have will be available as well. And then all of the live trainings that are being conducted and the management of the process that is taking place at the agency level clearly has the ability to train 30,000 individuals a month. And that's more or less, and more on the more side, the capacity we need to keep up the training mandate. Executive. We can hit, target has been 27,000 per month. If we can hit that, and we've pretty much done it. I think that December will catch up when the remaining agencies report their data. We'll be at that level. It shows that the system can't do it, but it's the momentum and effort has to continue throughout the year. Can't just be a year-end kind of rush to get the trainings done, but the system can't handle it. We have to see what budgetary constraints, what impact that's going to have. So we're not the only agency that's going to be impacted by the flatness of the budget. Assuming every agency can maintain their capability, we should be able to do that. That's quite apart from the assessment we're going to do going forward and the effectiveness of the training, but at least numerically, quantitatively, the experience shows that it can be done.
I have a question. Just about this report and the larger work in general. We send this to the legislature twice a year, legislative leaders.
We issue 3 quarterly reports. We've been combining them. So we've been doing a couple of quarters at a time.
My real question is,
Yeah.
have you gotten any feedback from the legislature from these reports?
We have not. We have not. I mean, not specifically. In our budget discussions,
Yeah,
we know that they are aware that the work is being done.
Yeah.
And it's a major part of our expense. So they're well aware of it. But we don't get, at least I don't, Emily, if you've got specific inquiries. I've never gotten a specific question on the report, which I hope means that the reports are well constructed, self-explanatory, that the data is being well received.
Any other questions?
I think she's frozen.
Was frozen.
Commissioner Edwards and Bush Edwards.
Yeah, I wasn't going to, I was going to say exactly what Sandy said. I said, although we don't get responses back from the legislature or the governor's office, I think that the fact that we've had, they've supported our request for budget increases. And I think I agree that it's the backbone for the defense that we use to justify our budget moving forward.
Thank you. The next item is the Commissioner Code of Conduct memos. Commissioners are required to make their submissions annually. Mine, haven't submitted it. Please just. And Keith.
Sandy, you're very hard to hear. It's very difficult to hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Right.
Yes, just a reminder to commissioners, that under the Commissioner Code of Conduct, the memos are due annually. Usual memos.
Operators are standing by for your receipt.
Keith. Specifically. Is standing by. Would copy me, please, on those. I think that's required.
And I might add, if anyone has a question about their disclosures from last year, I've got a sort of master log in a sense that can refresh your memory as to what individuals or organizations you've disclosed in the past that you may want to continue to include in your disclosure. Thank you.
This item is staffing update. Yes, three questions.
But we should try and get them with you by the end of the week.
Yes, please.
Not a lot to report that we haven't already covered. We are actively recruiting to fill a vacancy in compliance audit and review group. We have a candidate identified. So we got our due diligence on that. Relatively short when we discussed it with the not anticipating that. Especially good news in the group is that we have a new assistant director. You can see in that position as a result of the resignation. And I'm very, very happy to report that Kyle Utter, who joined the predecessor agency in 2016 and has been with Polo since the beginning, as both a compliance auditor as well as internal control, they're doing really a masterful job in that position, has been promoted to assistant director.
Assistant Director
Of compliance audit
Okay.
review
Thank you.
in that unit, which is a shared unit. Division, yes.
Will he continue to serve as the
Internal controls
internal
officer.
controls officer?
That's a process. That's a process. Making determinations. That's all we have on that front. Other hiring is, as I said, on call. Four other vacancies we had.
So they have lobbying data, public access dashboard.
Yes, this is very exciting. I've talked about this several times before. As everyone knows, the past year, Emily in the communications division working. Carol Flynn, director, lobbying, and her team have been putting out preliminary lobbying data reports. Those have come out essentially bi-monthly, following the submission of bi-monthly reports to the annual reports of that. So we have a year of that under. Our goal has always been to have an online vehicle for visualizing that data dashboard. you know, we brought in Kathy Kaufman, who worked as our data research assistant, specifically on that project to help us with other technology needs and other data manipulation. Management needs. She's done a masterful job. We've had some fits and starts in getting the dashboards up. Not because of any difficulty at our end, but because of some back and forth with state information technology services about licensing for the applications, how well that the dashboards being used are. Ultimately settled on, after going back and forth, is publicly available version. And we'll turn this over to Emily. We'll set it up, but the dashboard is now ready to review. Not quite ready to.
Great.
Emily, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Sandy. And Kathy has turned on her camera, so you'll be seeing her in a moment. Kathy joined Colig a year ago in January 2025, and she immediately started working with us on generating the bi-monthly preliminary data that aggregated the data for that period. And the first report was released on April 22nd, 2025. Since that time, we have released 4 additional reports, and we're working on our last one for the year. So that'll give us a full reporting for 2025 in those reports. And once we got the monthly reports where we wanted them, Kathy started the process to create the Tableau dashboards. The purpose of the dashboards is to build upon the paper reports and provide users with the ability to dig deeper into the data, that more deeply into the data than a static paper report would allow. And as soon as ITS secured our Tableau licenses, Kathy began creating the dashboards this past September and has made tremendous progress to date. While we still have to get final ITS approval to post these on our website, we're at a point where we're ready to do a demonstration for all of you. As Kathy will show you, the dashboard is dynamic and allows the user to examine the bi-monthly data more deeply. And all of the data comes from the bi-monthlies, which we pull 1 week after they are due. So we go to the end of the grace period and then we pull the data. And now I will turn it over to Kathy to start the demonstration.
Kathy, I think you're muted.
Of course, I'm still muted. Didn't learn anything during COVID, apparently. Are you able to see my screen?
It's very low, very small.
Can you enlarge it?
Thank you.
Let's see, not easily. Let me just see if we can go ahead and enlarge it on.
Oh, we can enlarge it.
You should be able to enlarge it on your screen by, I think, right-clicking and
Yeah.
Zoom, or there might be a little sliding
Yeah.
scale above the image.
Still not clear though.
It's on the,
Let me see if I can.
it's on hers. It's her screen. That's
She should be able to do it on your screen, Kathy.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, but it's still small.
There you go, Kathy. There
Is
you
that
go.
any better
That
for
helps.
you?
Yeah, could you do it a little bit more?
Sure.
that's
Sam's got it.
There you go. That's
How's
good.
that looking?
That's good.
Okay. So I'm just going to walk you through the dashboards that we have currently set up. These are all related to the preliminary bi-monthly lobbying data. And I'm fine, thank you. Martha's on me. She's watching to make sure I've got my screen magnified. So I'm going to just walk you through the general setup of these screens, and then we'll move along and I'll show you the specific ones. We'll eventually have a home page for each of the types of dashboards. This is currently the home page for the lobbying dashboards. That I would say this is somewhat of a placeholder right now, but we will be simplifying it and improving it. But this is where you'll go to access all of the lobbying dashboards. And I'm just going to start here with preliminary spending. So you'll click on the image. And I see, you know what, because it's magnified, it's not going to appear right. Hang on a second. Let me just fix that. Yeah, I never tried that before. Are you able to see the homepage again?
No, we see you.
We lost it.
Okay.
It's not sharing just yet, Kathy. I think
I'm
you have
gonna,
to reshare.
no, I understand. I'm gonna go back and reshare. What I wanted to do is, because the dashboards are responsive to the screen size, when I magnified my screen, it actually showed you the mobile app version. So we're gonna have to just kind of like, let me know if you are missing anything really important, and let's just see if we can make this work. Let's just try. No, that won't be it.
That was good. That was good.
No, that was the mobile version. That was.
Yeah, that was the mobile version. I apologize. It was something I thought I had anticipated everything, but apparently not that. Are you able to see the home screen now? Just
We can, yes, we
general
can.
layout. Let's just see what happens when I click on this now. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it knows I'm in a big screen. All right. How does that look to you? Does it look a little bit small?
I think you need to share the other tab, Kathy, because we're still seeing the dashboard.
Oh, you are. Okay.
So I think you have to share your screen, not.
Right. I have to go back and show you the other
necessarily
screen. Okay. Well, I guess this is going to be a recurring problem for this kind of demonstration, just because every time you click a button on here, it's going to open in a new tab. So we'll always be shifting. How are you seeing the preliminary spending for lobbyists now?
Yeah, it's very small though.
Okay, let's see if we can magnify it without losing our setup.
Okay. That's okay.
That's good.
Is that a bit better? I'm going to try one more.
Okay.
How's that
Yeah,
looking
that's
for you?
great. That's good. That's better.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of what this is, a general layout that we've used. It's a template that we're using for all the dashboards, more or less. You'll always see a banner here at the top of the screen. On your far left, you have the table of contents. Right now, if you click on that, which I won't do because it'll open in a new tab, that'll go back to your homepage for lobbying dashboards. In the future, that will go to a larger homepage that's more of an umbrella for all of our dashboards. Whenever you click this PDF button, it will open a print screen that's specific to creating a PDF of the page you're on. So whatever you have on your page will be printable to a PDF. This button here for public filings will open up to the PSQ website. And over here, the colored logo will open up to our homepage. And we will always have a left sidebar available that will offer you the opportunity to navigate between all the dashboards in the category that you're in. So right now we're in the COLIC lobbying dashboards. You can click through home, which brings you back to the homepage, spending, which is this current page, compensation and clients, parties, topics, and bills. This is preliminary spending for lobbyists. So this is our aggregate data that shows you the sum of all the money that's been spent by bi-monthly period on lobbying. And it's broken down by a variety of categories. If you ever want more information or you're looking for some kind of methodological information about the table you're on, you can hover over this letter I. In this case, I don't know if you can see it, but it tells you that spending figures represent compensation and expenses. It'll give you a little bit of information about the time period in which they were collected. Then what we have here is the breakdown of lobbying spending. So compensation and expenses is the total. If you hover over any one of the data points, what you'll see is, like, in a little bit larger font and higher contrast, the data, excuse me, information about the data point itself. So here we have January, February, March, April, and you know this is 66.75 million. It's just a little bit of a helpful visual tool if you have any kind of issue seeing the screen. We have then total compensation, expenses, and then expenses are broken down into three categories: itemized expenses, which is always the largest category, non-lobbying expenses, And the smallest category of expenses typically is less than $75. This is actually a mistake that has to be fixed. This is one of the interesting things about trending year data is that you can see when something's really awry, right? You'll see like, oh, this is unusual. Well, that's because somebody added as an extra 0 in their filing. And we can pick that kind of thing up much more easily now that we're trending. If you look down here, you'll see the data table. It's just a different format. It still has hover text available, a little bit more granularity about the numbers. And this is helpful, especially for people who are visually impaired who can't really follow the trend line. So now I'm going to move on.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, if you don't mind just waiting, well, I'm going to go through these really quickly, and then
Sure.
It would be helpful for like guiding me for the future ones. I'm going to just go through really quickly, and then we can go ahead and take all your questions. Compensation and clients is our second one. This one, again, follows that same kind of pattern. What's a little bit different about this chart, you'll notice, is that you have a few different options. We're only showing the most current time period in the ranking graph, but you can switch. And if you're used to seeing this kind of layout in our PDF format, this is the kind of thing you'll be familiar with. You can switch and see how different lobbying firms were ranked by compensation during various time periods. And what you can also do is change the ranking variable to contractual clients and beneficial clients in this case. If you uncheck one of the entities, the bottom bar goes away. But if you click on one of these, what you'll see is a trend chart showing that particular firm and how their specific numbers have trended over time. So what you can see is that Bolton St. John's was spending at a high level in January, February, bi-monthly period of this year, fell off to June, July, August, and then popped up a little bit in September, October as the new session probably started. So this just gives you a little bit more of a trend, which is something that we haven't been able to really produce easily using the paper PDF format. All right, I'm going to move on. And again, you have these same buttons available here. I'm going to move on to parties.
Kathy, before you move on,
Sure.
do you just want to note how, in our paper reports, we can only show like the top 15, but how we have the buttons at the bottom here? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, thank you. I keep forgetting to mention this, that, our paper reports always showed the top X number of entities or parties or bills. And we weren't able to really show the full breadth of what we had in terms of data because it was just too much. So what we have now is sort of the same view that you might be used to seeing there, but you can paginate through. And in fact, see, it's just lagging. That just takes a little bit of time. And paginate through and see all of the various, now in this case, parties that were lobbied during the September-October bi-monthly period. So it gives you really the full view. You're still, when you, in this case, let me just backtrack and say that this is, this is lobbied parties, right? So, and again, we have that trend functionality where if you click on the governor's office, you'll see that you get a little micro report down at the bottom of the trend of lobbying the governor. And this is kind of interesting because for those who are familiar with the lobbying kind of calendar, you can see that the governor is being lobbied, kind of much more intensely as we get through toward the budget and beyond the budget period. So this is the new one. So I'm misspeaking. March, April would be the peak for 2025. And then actually what you see are new bills being released, and September, October is another, begins to peak again.
Yeah, and that's because once the legislature ends, the bills are with the governor's office for her to sign or veto. So that's why you see that the governor's office, goes up towards the end of the year because people are trying to get her to sign bills.
Right. And here I'll use the majority leader's office as sort of a counter example, where when there's sort of a flurry of activity trying to get bills or policy into the budget, you have a peak, a kind of near-term peak here in the spring, and then that falls off dramatically. Here's another. The Assembly majority is a similar pattern. I'm going to just move on to topics quickly, and I don't want to neglect your questions. I hope you're able to see these.
Mhm.
Okay, so this one's structured a little bit differently, but it has the same banner at the top. Here you can select what type of statistic you want to see. These are filings. And what we have here are the subjects of bills that have been, that we have filings related to during each bi-monthly period. And they're organized in a hierarchical way. So we have the general subject, and these are listed here at the bottom. And this serves as a filter. And then within each subject, we have subtopics. So currently I have selected the health topic. And what you can see is what subtopics were lobbied during each bi-monthly period. Another way to look at the subjects, I'm going to click through, and I'm trying to remember now once again which one had a lot of, let's go to real estate. So as you click these, each topic, you can see that it filters just subtopics that are related to that topic. To make it a little bit easier to find a subject, you can click here on alpha, and it shows you the alphabetically sorted subjects. So if you, so here's transit, for instance, and you can see all the subtopics related to transit here. And if you want to select, rather than filings, the number of clients or the number of lobbyists, you just use that drop-down menu. Okay, and then finally, and this is probably our most complex view, we have bills. And there are two ways to look at bills. One is, this is a ranked view. So this gives you a ranking by filings. And then if there's a tie by filings, it shows the bills ranked by lobbyists and clients. The most, for the September-October period, the most lobbied bills related to this bill title provides for the protection of health information. What you can see here, and this is a little bit complex, is that where you have lots of revisions of the bill and new versions, they will be nested underneath the main bill version. So for instance, here we have the Alpha bill related to education, labor, housing, and family assistance budget. And these are, there's the Assembly bill, there's a Senate bill, and these are the sort of stems. And then what we have here is each version thereof. And if you want a little more information on how this is trended over by monthly period, you can click on the bill itself. And you'll scroll down and you'll see, again, this sort of trend related to that same bill. This is the number of filings, the number of lobbyists, and the number of clients over each bi-monthly period. And again, you always can look at the tooltip if you'd like to get a better view of what's there on that data point. The other thing I want to mention is, as with all the other charts, you can paginate through. I'm going to have to go back here and unselect that. Okay, that's unselected. Now you can paginate through, and this is pretty complicated So if you want a view that doesn't show all of the print numbers and all that is all the bill versions, you can go here and collapse. And that gives you a clearer, more simplified view. It's just the total number of filings, lobbyists, and clients related to this particular bill. And then it's broken down just by the Assembly and the Senate versions. I'm going to go back to page 1 to give you a little more familiar viewpoint. Here we have the health information view. So now you don't have all the different versions broken down. And that's about it for what we have right now. I'm going to just return to this homepage tab, and I'm happy to take questions. And I apologize for cutting you off at the beginning. I wasn't sure how, if the technology was going to cooperate, so I wanted to make sure we got through it.
No, that's fine. Thank you. My question was just, I wasn't sure when it says preliminary spending, I feel like that phrase is likely to be a bit like what that means may not be clear to the audience. I wonder if there's a way to title that table that would explain in what sense the spending is preliminary or in what sense the data is preliminary.
That's
Yeah,
a
and
good
Kathy-
question.
Yeah, Kathy anticipated that. Do you want to talk about the I tab?
Yeah, so we have the information tab, but I mean, I think more to your point.
I read the information tab and I still don't think I know the answer.
One of the tensions that we have is that, these registrations and filings are constantly being updated.
Mm-hmm.
And so at any point, we can receive a filing that amends the previous filing, and these numbers can change. So if someone were to go to the PSQ or one of the other public data pages, they would see a number that's a little bit different. And I guess we were feeling like we wanted people to know that this is a snapshot from a moment. But you're right that it's not precisely.
Yeah, we can add a definition on there. So preliminary,
I think
what
it's-
we do for all of our bi-monthly is we pull the data after the grace period. So for the dashboard and the monthly reports, we pull the data 7 days after it's filed, where, and that remains static for the reports and for the dashboard. But people go in, as Kathy said, and continually amend the filings. And so our annual report will have updated data from what is in the preliminary data.
Yeah, then I think it's probably my suggestion would be don't call it preliminary spending, because the adjective preliminary is modifying spending, and it's wrong to suggest that the spending is preliminary. I would say like parentheses preliminary data or something like that, and then explain it, because I just think it's misleading to say preliminary spending. The spending isn't preliminary. A totally minor point. The system is amazing, and it's really exciting to see this rolled out. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing on it.
No, I appreciate the feedback, actually, because we look at it every day, and it's extremely helpful. So thank you.
So I'm assuming that all of the filings are submitted to us via technology. So you just have to check. No?
Some of them are, the majority of them are, but I think we get about, is it 1,000 filings a year, Carol, that we have to then enter in because they're submitted by PDF?
Yes. Yeah, about 1,000 a year that get data entered as quickly as we can, and then
Right.
then they're available to the public.
So it's 1,000, so you get about 4,000 applications, forms a year, right?
No, we get like 70,000.
70,000. So that's a minor number. I was just wondering about how do you minimize error? But 1,000 isn't a big number in terms of entry.
And that's why it's preliminary. Yeah, that's why it's preliminary. We wanted to get the data out more quickly, so that people would have an idea rather than waiting, a month or two until everything's been reconciled and entered in and amended. What were you going to say something, Sandy?
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing here is getting this data out, not quite real time. The data's in the,
Right.
it's accessible if it's filed electronically. But rather than waiting until the full reconciliation is completed, which takes months to do because we have to compare the filings that come in from the clients with the filings that come in from the lobbyists. Inevitably, there are some disagreements or differences that have to be worked out. It's a lot of staff time. Last year, the total, when Carol and her team began working on the reconciliation was well over $20 million. Finally got it down to a small percentage, but a huge amount of work goes into that. But in the meantime, we want to get the data out, and that's why it's preliminary. Carol?
And one other thing I'll add is some filers, of course, are late. So some filings aren't even in the system when we are pulling this data and putting it up on the dashboard.
Right. Okay, I just want to point out that I think it's an excellent instrument and a real value to the public. But I would also agree with Commissioner Ayers in that you really need to explain what the data is showing. I mean, because my own personal experience is going to those websites that they provide data up to a certain particular point, and then I use it in my research. And then now you have to provide a link for the reader to have the opportunity to review the data that you're looking at. But when they go, because the data is liquid, 2 weeks later, the numbers are different. And so it took me a while to figure out that I wasn't making the mistakes, that the data was moving, the data was not static. And so it's important, I would think, to make sure people understand that it's subject to change because it's live.
Well, so
And it's
this
not
data
stored.
actually, this data is static. It is static, so it's as it was pulled 7 days after the filing deadline, and that's not changing. But one of the things we are going to be doing is adding some explanations and some intro text to each of them. That's one of our next steps to do. So we can certainly add information in there to your vice chair's point.
Yeah, I understand that it's static, but I'm just pointing out that it would be helpful for the researcher to have a clear explanation as to what the data represents and that it's subject to change. That's the point I'm making.
Yep.
This is not clear, but this not to take away from the overall instrument. It's excellent. I appreciate staff doing it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We will have a methodology section, which is where I always go as a researcher. I immediately go to the methodology section. And in this case, it's really essential, right? Because it is a snapshot.
Yeah, but some sites don't offer that. Some sites don't offer the methodology section.
Yeah, or they don't make it easily available. But this will be something that you'll be able to link to, very, very easily.
It's wonderful.
I think it's very important.
So congratulations, I think it's really excellent. I'm very excited to have this. And my question is, can we see who's lobbying whom for what in this, in the dashboard? Is there a way to see that?
So for that, you would have to go into the PSQ. This dashboard does not have that level of detail. But for instance, if you wanted to see, what were the top 100 lobbied bills or topics, and then you could go into, get that information, and then you could go into the PSQ and say, okay, for the, top 5, who's lobbying that, and then you could go into the PSQ and get that information.
Wow, very nice. Thank you. Excited.
Any other questions?
It's great.
If there's no more questions, I'll just take a minute to talk about our next steps on this project. So right now we're going to be working on adding those descriptions and the methodology, as Kathy mentioned, and we're also finalizing the accessibility and mobile friendly changes that need to be made in order for ITS to approve it. So we'll be submitting that for their approval. And then as we're doing that, submitting it for approval, we'll continue to add data and new features. And as soon as we get the approval from ITS, we will launch it publicly. And then Kathy will work on creating a dashboard for our client semi-annual report data. So that is our next project.
Great.
Just another question.
Go ahead.
So everything gets entered manually.
No.
The system takes it all day. you put in already? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
The lobbyists and
Kathy can
clients.
explain.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
Kathy
couldn't,
can
I couldn't hear your question. The audio isn't great. Can you say it again?
I'm trying to figure out how the data gets in, or how the how it works to put it together as you can see it and manipulate it how you want. So the data goes. I'm trying to figure out how the data gets in.
That's
Yeah,
Kathy's whole job.
so right now it's really actually pretty straightforward. We get data from ITS, and it's really in some simple spreadsheets, and I manipulate those spreadsheets to merge them and restructure them in various ways, and then those get uploaded into the set of tools and connected if we have multiple data sources, and then at that point we're using Tableau Public, which is a public dashboard, interactive dashboard building tool, and use that to design the dashboard. But underneath that is really, under the covers is just a pile of simple spreadsheets. So it can be done differently. There are lots of ways to connect to data using these tools, but that's the way we've decided to do it, because it's just, for us, it's a simple and secure way to share data. So we don't have to open our whole complex database and worry about public access. We can really just provide simple data, but make it illustrative.
Kathy's being modest. I don't think the process is simple at all. She's an expert at it, and she's done amazing work on this, from taking the data from Excel spreadsheets and cleaning it and sorting it and organizing it in a way to create these dashboards. So Kathy has done a tremendous amount of work in this area.
I think it's great.
So when the data is submitted electronically, is it submitted in spreadsheets, or is it submitted and then you convert it to spreadsheets?
It's submitted into a database. Carol can speak more about the database itself. It's a lobbying database that uses form fields, and it's browser accessible. And the clients and or the lobbyists submit their filings through that portal. So they actually enter data into form fields on online forms that are accessible by the web. And then that goes into a large relational database that is managed by ITS. And that's accessible with SQL tools, which are one kind of data access tool, or you can also, the public can also download some canned reports from that are sort of simple spreadsheets or views or lists of clients and lobbyists and their numbers of filings, et cetera. And then those are exported, and I play around with them and smash them up and rotate them and make them into this.
She's referring to the online lobbying application. So every lobbyist and client fills out their disclosures that go into the lobbying application. She does what she does with that in coordination with ITS.
Yeah, so this is the old SQL server-based data processing system that we use for the lobbying application. This is the same system we would like to upgrade and to replace. We have sources to do it. Well, it's old. It does its job, but it's slow. It requires a lot of maintenance, and it requires a lot of work to make changes and to do things as Kathy's doing.
I think it's the information the public wants to have available to us. That's what I'm excited. You want to know who you can get to, who's lobbying for what from this, and so it's very, very impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, and our hope for the new lobbying application and public search query system would integrate all of that. So it would do what the dashboard does, it would do what the PSQ does, and then also let you just dig down like that right into it. So that's our hopes and dreams for the future. But as Sandy mentioned, right now, we don't have the funding for that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work either to get data directly, and the data is being made available on the OpenNY platform if you have the means to deal with that level of data. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of expertise. You can use the PSQ to do individual searches, and right on our website, there are canned reports where somebody who's interested can establish the parameters they want, but they're confined to the kind of reporting structure that's there. So there are lots of ways to get into the data. This is a really good way to visualize it in a real-time basis. And one day we'll have all the tools that are available.
Well, this is terrific. Thank you so much, Emily. And
It's excellent. It's
wait,
excellent.
so it's nice to see that we're on the verge of actually having it made available for the public.
Yeah, it's great.
Any other questions or comments about the system? Next item, chair report, committee reports. The chair does not have a report. Are there any committee reports? I don't believe so. And we'll have next item on the agenda is the update on the comprehensive review process. Sandy, you want to tell us where we are and plans are for the next 3 months?
Yeah, the next step in the process, as you know, we have conducted 2 public hearings, annual public hearings, in which we've gathered data addressed to the issues that comprehensive review provision in section 94 directs us to. We've conducted 2 formal surveys, one targeting the lobbying community and good government groups and others who are interested in that side of our work. Another survey going into ethics officers and others involved in enforcement and application of the ethics laws. Virtual professional operation to do analytics on that data. Commissioners have worked with the ethics group with Michael Sand through the Seminole Advisory Opinion Masterclass, looking at those and potential changes, modifications, and rethinking of some of the guidance that's been generated over the years. We've conducted an internal staff survey. We have collected all the prior assessments that have been made. States, ethics and lobbying enforcement structure, various groups both internally and various bar associations and others. And of course, we got specific commentary on potential proposals that might emanate from the comprehensive review process. We did that. Spoke hearing a huge amount of feedback on that. The next step is for staff to put together really an overall outline or draft, addressing all that information that we've taken in and some potential thoughts about it. What we would like to do with that draft is over the next 5 or 6 commission meetings, have commissioners go through each section, one section at a time, have a meeting, set aside a block of time to do that. Everyone will have all of this in advance, well in advance. So the idea is to have a comprehensive but rough preliminary draft available to commissioners, and we'll just work through it section by section. Seems to make the most sense. I think the group is of a size where that's a manageable way to do the work. And of course, the comments can be exchanged between meetings as well.
Any questions?
Did I hear you say early on that there are going to be 2 public hearings?
No, well, we've had 2 public hearings in which we've discussed these issues. In fact, we've made the comprehensive review questions that are set out in the statute for our annual public hearings from the beginning. We haven't necessarily got commentary. Most of the commentary we've got, frankly, has been addressed to concerns that the commentators have their, legislative initiatives, their concerns about specific. But the last time in particular, we were able to focus the comments on matter directly related to the comprehensive review. The surveys were targeting that as well. So we do have a good deal of information now
So,
to work with.
sorry. Will our first discussion be next month or?
Ideally, it'll be next month.
Okay.
The goal is to begin with the February meeting. And we can revise the process if not make the progress we want, but the idea is to complete each of these sections at a meeting. But prepare a further draft after that circulation. So they move on to the next section. And we do have the bare bones.
Sandy? Sandy, I have a question. The document we saw in advance of, the last public hearing, is that the document you'll be working off to generate this overall outline? Will it be categorized the same way, or, if it's topic by topic, are you gonna adhere to what's already out there, or is there further revisions?
That was derivative of a larger document. And that's the document we will be working from, but it has the same essential structure. So it's going to be looking at the ethics structure that we have now.
You're fading out, Sandy. We can't hear you.
It will follow that structure. That document was derivative of a larger document. But it will follow the same structure operationally, more or less from a unit by unit perspective. As the units, correspond to the areas of regulation in which the agency engages, regulation and enforcement.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The next item is plans for the 2026 public hearing. Are you doing that, or Emily?
Well, I think Emily had some thoughts about that. Emily, the goal again is to have the hearing after the summer break.
Right. So we need to start thinking about dates now so that we don't run into a problem where space is already taken up. So we've heard feedback in the past that during session is not a good time. Summer's not a good time. So I was thinking September, October, similar to what we did last year when we had it in September. And so I just wanted to get feedback from commissioners. If there's a preference in the month, we'll do what we've done in the past, which is send out a survey to, with dates and morning and afternoon availability to get as many commissioners available as possible. But I didn't know if commissioners had a strong feeling about which month. And of course, we will make sure to exclude the holidays and different things that happen in those months that we know happen.
How much time do you need after these hearings to put our legislative agenda together?
I mean, for this cycle, thinking is that the commission's next legislative agenda will be in large measure a function of, driven by the comprehensive. It's one of the outputs that the statute seeks, the recommendations, modifications in the ethics and law movements. So we don't necessarily have to have the same focus, I think, in the upcoming public hearing as we had before, where the hearing was kind of a driver. Process. I get feedback.
Sandy and Emily, if you're saying though that the comprehensive review will likely be the driving force for the subsequent legislative agenda, what other broad topics would you think of putting out there for the public agenda? I mean,
For the public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to have it focused, and we had some internal discussions on it. I would like to have it focused this time on the commission's performance. And get feedback on it. That's one of the issues that's in the statutory agenda for the annual public hearing. You know, we've talked a lot about provisions of the law, changes of procedures, specific kinds of things that individuals have. We've got some critiquing and some constructive, positive feedback on the performance. But this might be an opportunity to hear what the public has to say, what the interested communities have to say about where our focus is, our actual activities, our output. I mean, it's an ask. We can't, you know, the folks who come in will come in with whatever they have to say. But I think it's useful to have a focus or a theme here.
Well, if we want to get input from the public on what we finalize as our comprehensive review, we probably should make it in October rather than September. Make sense to you, Emily?
Yeah, so I think what Sandy was saying is, I don't know if we want that to be the focus. To get the final input on the comprehensive review, because we have already gone to the stakeholders and regulated communities twice on it, so like, we hope to have the final document done and be working, moving forward on that. So then the focus of the public hearing would be on the commission's performance, because we've already taken into account the public opinion and the stakeholder opinion on what we're doing with the comprehensive review. Am I saying that right, Sandy?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I thought it was saying you wanted to do both.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Not
we'll get feedback, but we've already incorporated that. You know, our experience from the past public hearings is that unless there's a specific focus, there's not a lot of change.
So when do you want to do it? What's your preference?
We could also put out dates for September and October and see where, the more dates, the more chances we'll have that we'll have dates when commissioners can all attend, and we'll have more flexibility in securing space. If you want us to do dates from both months, we could do that as well.
That's fine. So late September and October?
Yeah, does that sound good?
It's good.
Great. Thank you.
All right, any new business? I think you have a couple of items now, Sandy. You want-
Yeah, yes, there are a couple. And at the last commission meeting, talking about the legislative agenda, it was agreed the staff would also on a parallel track to propose legislative change to section 7.3, also pursue potential regulations. And look at both the extent to which we can accomplish what we'd like to accomplish by regulation.
Sandy, you're fading out again. When you look down, we can't hear you.
And also potential regulations themselves. I think we just have to resolve the question. We're going to work on that. Just mechanically and practically, do we want to work in lockstep or conjunction with the legislative effort? And particularly see what kind of reception we're getting on the proposed legislative changes. We have the proposed bills. We presented them before we get our case before. We'll continue to do that. Or at the same time we're doing that, do we want to pursue the legislative change? That's just a question. I think of what kind of reception we're getting the legislature, whether we think we have an improved chance at the current cycle of getting legislation.
I'm sorry, Sandy. we're not understanding what the question is here because you keep breaking up. Could you restate what the question is?
The question is, do we want, we agreed at the last commission meeting that in addition to pursuing amendments to section 74(3) to include sexual harassment as a violation of code of ethics, it's a legislative matter, also be preparing proposed regulations that would have the same effect. Interpretive regulations. In fact. It's a musical accompaniment.
Is that the copy? I guess it's ready.
Would it pose,
All
would it
aboard.
pose any kind of hardship to pursue both at the same
I
time?
don't think it's any kind of hardship. You know, it just changed, it potentially impacts the arguments, right?
No.
No, bad.
Me, sorry.
It's always, from my perspective, it's always preferable to have it in legislation. It takes away one area of contentiousness that can come up when you're operating with regulation. And, you know, see that over the history of the ethics. Where changes are being made by regulation. I think, as I said last time, we do have the authority in the statute to implement regulations. Nonetheless, we have, and I think correctly so, pursued legislative change.
I think, I think we discussed this and I think it's good. I think we get more public feedback if we do a regulation. And it might be that if our regulation is moving forward, that there'll be a move for legislative amendment. But I think, we've had this on our agenda since 2024 rather, it's not that, 2024. And it has been on previous agencies' agendas. Is it 23 or 20? So I think we should, I would advocate for us doing the regulatory amendment. And at the same time pursuing legislative amendment. That's my position.
Yeah, that's the sense of the body. We can pursue it on both tracks. We have the language.
Vice chairs.
Thanks. I was just going to say, if we were going to wait to think about regs pending something by the legislature, I'm not sure what we would wait for, because in other words, if we're going to wait to see if the legislature acts, are we just waiting for the end of the session and then doing it in the 6 months between sessions, or are we sort of waiting until some future point where we become convinced that the legislature is not going to act?
I think it's the latter. I mean, but the future point could be an earlier future point.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess with that in mind, I don't personally see a reason to wait, for what that's worth.
Sandy, I think I agree with both Ava and Dolly's point. We know right now that the lack of clarity in the law and the limited case law creates problems for enforcement purposes. I think it creates problems for the public. And to the extent we believe we have the authority to proceed by regulation, and that regulation can provide the clarity that we all think is necessary, it seems that's the appropriate thing to do. Not to mention the benefit of getting the comments from the public, and if the legislature has a concern, I would think they would let us know. So I think the idea of proceeding promptly with draft regulation makes sense.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, we'll prepare a draft.
Thank you.
The other divisions?
Well, yeah, there was the question of alternative track for certain complaints or enforcement matters. The simplified procedure that the statute talks about. On the place. the staff perspective, we've been looking at that as part of a larger set of revisions that we've been talking about, some commissioners have raised specifically to the procedures that the commission follows, part 941. 941 would be the logical place for that track to be. And we're taking a look overall at those procedures. I also see it as part of a comprehensive review. It can move independently. It doesn't necessarily have to be linked to the comprehensive review. We do see those legislative and regulatory changes coming out of it, potentially coming out of it. That's where we are, taking an integrated approach. Ryan has been looking at overall and has a lot of ideas for,
Sandy, you're cutting out again.
what welcome revisions to how matters.
So we'll look forward to seeing those.
Will be advancing this. The question, again, same kind of question, sort of as the one we just addressed. Do you want to integrate that into the comprehensive review overall so that there's a unity of treatment as we go through it? Or call it out separately. Part of it is the fact that the agency is moving forward with enforcement.
Can I? Sandy, I would suggest, we know from the public reaction to recent activities that there's a sense of urgency attached to clarifying the existing law on this issue of what the age violation can include. And it seems to me we can do two things at the same time. The comprehensive review is just that, it's comprehensive, but to the extent we're very aware of a sense of urgency, sort of, at least great concern from a lot of advocacy groups, I would think there's a good justification to proceed on both tracks simultaneously and not combine the two.
Well, on this, but part 941 looking more at procedural.
Oh, you mean the whole hearing procedure? Is that what you're talking about?
Everything, pre-hearing, everything, soup to nuts. So that there's a certainty for everybody in the process and consistency as we move through these things. Predictability. All of those. But looking at it from just an adjective perspective, less from substantive. Substantive was the sexual harassment, sort of refining the interpretation of scope, understanding of subsection H. We treat that separately, perhaps. This is strictly on the incidents of the investigative enforcement processes. As we move through it.
We have enforcement actions that will be coming up, so basically we ought to approach like this as quickly as possible. Be able to do it rather than wait for the comprehensive review.
All right.
Mr. Carvalho, and then Commissioner. Harris?
So I just wanted to bring up that I remember quite a while ago, Commissioner Ayers proposed some plain language changes. I think while we're working on this comprehensive review, if we could pull those out and see where those are, because I think that's extremely important, just that things be simplified and clear and what we're talking about. And that's part of the comprehensive review, to change the language or to simplify the language.
That is a vital ingredient that spans the entire.
I just wanted to remind everybody that it's out there. That's helpful, that one.
But our goal in any event is, in everything we do, is hopefully clarity.
Right.
So that, you know, it's some amount of predictability, sort of. It's important, so I think it's especially important. This commission achieving this.
Vice Chair Ayers?
Thanks. Yeah, and thanks, Commissioner Caraballo, for that. I still haven't gotten to staff the proposal that I was going to draft on plain language. I'm planning to do that in early February, and for staff to look at and react, and then to share with other commissioners as well. I appreciate you raising that. It's dear to my heart. I was just going to say the same thing Seymour said. I think that in terms of our hearing procedures, to the extent that there are open questions, I think it would be better not to wait, but to address those sooner rather than later, because we have other enforcement actions that may be affected by those questions. Thanks.
Is there any new or other business? All right, so right now, I entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Public Officer Law 105.
So moved.
Law 9411 to address matters concerning employment of personnel, pending litigation and investigative and enforcement, and other matters that's confidential pursuant to Section 94 of the Executive Law, Section 105 of the Public Officer. Commissioner Edwards just made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Carvalho seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion
Aye.
carries. We'll enter into
Your life.
so we're returning to the public session for the Commission on Lobbying and Government January meeting. We completed our executive session. I'd ask Executive Director Berlin to give us a readout of what was conducted during that session.
Thank you, Chair James. In executive session, the commission discussed matters related to litigation and legal advice. The commission discussed personnel matters. The commission discussed informal guidance pursuant to executive law, section 94.7A and part 942. And the commission authorized steps in several investigative matters, closed 24 matters, and discussed several other investigative matters.
All right, so we did new and other business this morning, so I entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Carvalho, Commissioner Karas, all in favor? Opposed? Guys have it, we're adjourned.